direction of the conclusion is directly tied in with the last statement, one of the last statements that you made in the prior chapter, and that is love is the only effective approach for reaching full embodiment, full incarnation. So Rob, if you could take it from here.
Yeah, so it picks up off the conclusion of the last chapter, which sort of had a poetic note to it, and sort of squashes that and says, okay, let's be a little bit analytical, as is the sort of the purpose of the book. So the idea is looking at what the overalls and what it means to what it means by living in love, or that love is the whatever supreme effective power in the world. Um, and I talk about sort of the different ways that you could conceive of that, and just saying, oh, just feel the love, man. Like it's all love, brother. It's all good. That's not really helpful in the particulars. And so I try to get a little bit more particular and talk about what it means. And I state that love is not something that breaks the game. It doesn't make the difficulties of the world go away. It's actually the foundation upon which the difficult world is built. So it really just means it's really just about building that baseline faith, which is the attitude that you then take to the world full of problems and difficulties. So um, it's more of an assistance in persevering than a uh, particular solution to every problem, though it does um, put you on the way to the solutions. Um, so, and then I talk about the idea of, or the seeming conflicting idea of the sort of Eastern and or modern New Age idea of, oh, just be yourself, be totally you, don't judge, just sort of let it all go, and the universe just wants whatever you want, versus the other side of being called to grow and progress and change and develop virtue. And I try to tie those together in a counterintuitive way, I think, but I hope ultimately an effective way.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that you bring up with because I think it also ties in with the chapter on tolerance in that, if there is no judgment, if everything is just kind of that sense of love where anything go, see, I think that almost because the message is true, right? Love is the answer.
Yeah.
But the concept of love is a very difficult one to kind of break down, right? I think it was the Greeks that had multiple different words for expressing different forms of love.
Mhm.
And so I think that when we to make a comparison, when it's like, hey, just be you, just it's almost like do as thou wilt, in
Yeah.
that and that's a complete misconception. And I think that that's a strong aspect of the New Age movement that actually ties directly in with Satanism in the sense where, you almost view God as being like this neutral, etherical force that bends to your will, Um, if you want a cheese pizza and you're on the couch, then hey, somebody's gonna knock on the door with a cheese pizza just because you thought about it.
Mhm.
When there's that level of, like you said, a calling, right? There's that connection of somebody tapping you on the shoulder, and then you have to turn around and look and see who it is. And that is the narrow path, and that is a difficult path. And I think a lot of that path, the difficulty in that path is because it requires an absolute pure form of love, you know? And again, it's hard. It's a really hard one to really set as an example when you say that, because love is fairly abstract. It's like, well, what form of love are we referring to? But it's that turn the other cheek kind of love, you know. It's that um it's the meek shall inherit the earth, is what I think. It's the type of love that is unburdened by what has been, and that what has beening is the environment, is just your external environment that is consistently pounding into you, but regardless of what's going on, you have to have you have to have oil in your lamp, you got to have that flame coming up regardless of what's hitting you. And that can be extremely difficult because we get completely lost in the external, and we lose that sense of self. But
So, a couple of points on the idea of like, well, love and do as well. Actually, the Christian idea is love and do as you will, not just do as thou wilt. But on the idea of do as you will because love allows you to do whatever you want, that idea is like, well, God loves you so much, so he doesn't care whether you fill in the blank. Um, but I think if you just restate that in another way, like it becomes obvious what is actually being said. God loves you, he just doesn't care about anything you do. Like, well, actually, then he doesn't love you. He's indifferent towards you, right? Um, so the the idea of love is that paternal love, where you say, um, there are actually things that I'm not going to allow you to do. There are things that I'm going to steer you away from and try to get you to go in a way that's actually good for you. So there's an order to love, there's an order to the world, and so there's a way that we need to interact with the world. And then because God loves us and loves people around us and the world, he wants us to act in certain ways that reflect that in the world, not just, oh, I love you so much, you know, do whatever you want. Like poop in the trash can, tear down the walls, like light your house on fire. It's all good. You're just having fun, you're experimenting. You're being creative, And it's like, no, there's an order and there's form, there's purpose in form. So um, that means that love has a certain order and directedness and isn't indifferent. Love is not indifferent to your state and your trajectory. So I think that sort of resolves the idea of non-judgment and non what indifference of love. Just infinitely permissive love is indifferent love, and not love.